Hello again, Broncos country. We are back. Monday Night Football. Your Denver Broncos are hosting the Cleveland Browns on primetime, baby. Let's go. It's Monday Night Football. I'm here for Tailgate Talk. The game starts here in just under an hour, and we want to talk to you guys about what's going on with this game and what to expect, and just kind of have a couple drinks. It's a Monday night. I know a lot of people got to work tomorrow, like we normally do on Sundays, but let's have a few drinks. Let's talk. So make sure you hit those comments, questions, and concerns about how we're doing on today's game. And while you guys are posting those questions, I'll tell you what Kev's been up to. As you guys know, Kev's got the season tickets and does the season ticket things and goes to the Flagman pregame tailgate party out every single time. And here he is. If you guys didn't know and didn't see this already, we got Jason Kelce coming out to the Flagman. Kevin's hanging out with Jason Kelce. He actually sent me a video of him taking some shots with him. So he's having a good time out there wearing the Broncos jersey, that 6-6 jersey. So super happy about that. You know, repping that O lineman, but really loving it. So yeah, that's what they're doing now. And we're here together to talk about this Monday night game. Denver Broncos, Cleveland Browns in the prime time. Can the Broncos do it and continue to put up the numbers we've been putting up in the last couple of weeks in the prime time? Now, guys, I know everyone's looking at the schedule and they're looking 3-8 Cleveland Browns. We're 7-5. We have a lot going for us. They don't. Their quarterback's been not so great. Obviously, Jameis Winston having to step in lately. And what is that going to play out for us, and how is that going to play out for us? So make sure you guys let me know your thoughts on how we feel like we're going to stop Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce. So I'm looking at Jason Kelce's picture with him. And how we're going to stop Jameis Winston on this game. So before I tell you guys that, make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button. We're here every day, every game before the game. We're doing this tailgate talk. And then we also have our Bourbon Broncos No BS show, which is our flagship show on Tuesday. Make sure you're downloading all of our podcasts on iTunes and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We do a pregame podcast and postgame podcast. So twice a week, you're going to hear from us. And then obviously I'll be right back here with Spotty at halftime to break down what we saw in the first half. Where's the puffball? Where's David at? David's going to join me a little bit later. You know, these Monday night games, I had to leave work early. I had to come in. I had to get ready, you know, put some powder on the face and get ready for this show. So, but I'm super excited to be here with you guys. Make sure you guys are posting those questions and comments on this. I'm just going to kind of give you a brief overview of how I feel about this game and just kind of some general stats here. So we opened the week at a 6.5 point spread, and it looks like it came back to 6.5. And at one point, it was down a little bit lower. Last I checked on my DraftKings, we're looking at, I think like 75% or 80% of the bets are going towards the Broncos. I do want to talk real quick about some of the injuries that the Broncos have, because I'll get to that in a little bit. But the big ones, as I'm seeing, are everybody was kind of wondering, when are we going to get our Josh Reynolds back, right? And he had a big injury that kind of ironed him. He's not back for this grade. He's been downgraded to out for the game today. That's from Jeff Legwald. Jeff also said Riley Moss, which we kind of expected that we knew Riley Moss was going to be out. Drew Sanders is out again, and then obviously Zach Wilson. So kind of the normal guys. The big one here is Riley Moss getting injured in that last game kind of is rough for us, right? He's kind of that number 2 corner, that guy that we can really trust on opposite of Pat Surtain. I don't think it's going to be for this game specifically going to be that big of a deal. Obviously, we want him to rest up for the rest of the season as we start rolling. But I think what you're going to see a big time is Jerry Jeudy is their leading receiver, and we all know Jerry Jeudy, what he can and what he can't do. Pat Surtain's probably going to end up being lined up against him most of the time. Now, the biggest threat is not so much over the air, but on the ground. Jameis Winston is a guy that, we're just really bad at covering quarterbacks who can get out of the pocket. And we have a tough time getting to him because we're afraid that he's going to be able to get out. And that's fair, right? To Vance and to the defense, it's fair. We got to keep him in the pocket to make him make some plays with his arm, not his legs. And he did a pretty good job. If you guys watched that last Thursday, they played the Pittsburgh Steelers and did a very good job and came out and won that game in a snow globe style environment. What are we going to be able to do? Are we going to be able to hold him inside that pocket? I think that's my big question. Anthony, welcome to the show. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, Thursday night, I guess, was our last primetime game. I can't remember the last primetime game we really had. And I'm excited to see if Bo Nix can do it in the prime time, right? Like I'd have to, let me go back and look at you guys correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the last primetime game we had was earlier in the season. Or was it the Thursday game where we wore the special, let's see. I think it was the early game we wore the special uniforms. But yeah, I'm excited to see this. This team is going well, right? The Broncos are doing a very good job so far, especially in the last half of the season. You're seeing a lot of growth and a lot of new things from Bo Nix, which is amazing. And you're seeing a lot of growth there. And are we able to finish it out? Are we able to get in the prime time on a Monday night, a little bit longer of a week, and be able to go out there and take care of business? So I'm excited for this game. I know David's going to jump on with me just shortly here, but one of the things that he always would talk about is the uniform matchup. And I bet you it's the first thing he mentions when he comes on. Mark my words. Stay with me. He's going to jump on here. He's going to mention the uniform matchup. We're wearing the all-white helmets, the whiteout helmets, and then we are wearing the blue tops, blue bottoms, and I'm assuming white socks or orange socks. I don't think it's going to go all blue on the bottom. But Clayton, hey man, thank you, appreciate you. Yeah, smash that like button, hit the share button, and let me know your guys' thoughts. I'm doing this by myself for a little bit, so I'd really want to know what you guys are thinking going into this Monday night game, or if you guys are just on your way home from work and just like want to hear someone talk about Broncos. So I'm here for you. Appreciate it. Oh, also, before I forget to mention, I finally got back to Colorado, guys. Finally got me one of them championship blends, baby. Man, and I tell you what, I already drank 2 of them while I was out there. It was Thanksgiving. You got to have a couple drinks, but delicious stuff. If you guys haven't tried it, make sure you guys go get some of this championship blend of bourbon whiskey from Breckenridge Distillery. If you're not a big fan of bourbon, check out their vodkas. They got some other stuff out there, and it's really good. I really, really love it. So, yeah, so Monday night game, we're wearing special uniforms. Bo Nix is feeling himself. The offense is doing well. The defense is absolutely killing it. Can the Browns put up a fight against us? Yes, the answer is yes. And here's yes, we are 6.5-point favorites. Did we last 2 games was a dream in Broncos country where we finally got a game where we didn't have to stress out the whole time. I don't think this is going to be one of those games. I don't know what it is about the nighttime games. I mean, if you look at some of the past nighttime games that we've been seeing, they're all pretty close. Last night was not. Let's not talk about last night. It was another snowy game. But it looks like the weather in Denver is supposed to be perfect tonight. It's going to be beautiful. I'm expecting a couple. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I'm expecting big games out of Devon Vele. Right, I think they're going to try to match up on Cortland Sutton, and I think Devon Vele is going to have a big game, especially with Josh Reynolds still being out. Right, you're going to see little Jordan Humphrey get a couple catches. You're going to see, like, the best part about the way that our offense runs is that he's scrolling that So I just saw Kevin's. He distracted me, man. We're really going to be spreading that ball around. That's the best thing that our offense does. I think the last 2 or 3 games we've had over 10 targets, 10 different receivers catching the ball, which is huge. Kevin over here getting done partying with Jason Kelce, as I showed you guys earlier. Yeah, Key is going to be playing in for Moss. So you're probably going to see very little go Pat Surtain's way as far as throws go. So expect a lot of that, and expect Jameis Winston to know what to do. I think the big key to this game is obviously not just getting pressure, but getting him flustered. If we can keep him contained and flustered, then that's better. If we start getting him flustered and he starts rolling out and does some crazy stuff, there's not much we can do about that. So we have to make sure that we can contain him, either keep a spy on him or do something to make sure that he's not taking off for extra yards, and don't let him feel himself. Like that's the biggest thing. He's a big person that he needs momentum. And unfortunately, the Broncos are really bad at just giving momentum to the other teams. And if he gets momentum and he starts going, he starts feeling good, which is what you saw last week in the Thursday night game against Pittsburgh. He just started feeling good. He started feeling like he was doing the right things, and he started making the right decisions. And next thing you know, he's excited. They're having fun, and they just went out and won that game. So, good for them to go out there and win that game. This is not a team that's just 3-8, right? They have had a lot of struggles at the beginning of the season. They still have Myles Garrett on the defensive side, who's up there in the lead for sacks so far. So we need to make sure we key on him as we're playing offensively. But I'm not super worried about the defense on this game. The Cleveland Brown defense, other than Myles Garrett. It's kind of very similar to the way that the Raiders play their defense, and expect for us to start slow to see what kind of defense they play up against us. And I think that's going to be a big part of it. Let's see. Clayton says, I truly haven't seen defense like this since you went on a run. So our defense especially is doing really well. He talks about no fly zone part 2. Love the way that our defensive backs have been working together and doing the right things. This defense has been really, really good. And I mean, I talk about it on the podcast, I talk about on the show, like, I'm not 100% sold. I'm not going to sit here and say this is the greatest defense, right? No fly zone was week after week after week. They never took a week off. We saw us take a week off against the Ravens, and I get it. They're a much better offense than anybody else we've played, but consistently after that, they've been playing week in and week out, and I can't say nothing negative against them. They're doing a very, very good job. But now we're looking at this team. Their only 3 wins are against Jacksonville, Baltimore, and they beat Baltimore. We got stomped by Baltimore, but obviously that's a divisional game. Winston threw for 334 yards. Chubb went for 52. Chubb is back. He ran for 59 yards. Winston threw for 219. And then against New Orleans, Winston went 395 yards. So they're throwing the ball. The run game is not doing very well. In the leading rushers for the Browns has been Chubb in the last 4 games, and all of them under 60 yards per game. 59, 50, 39 against the Chargers, and 52. If they have to throw the ball against this defense, again, key in for Riley Moss, which is going to make it difficult for our defense, right? If we could have Riley Moss in there, I say this is game over, right? We get 3 picks and maybe one of them a pick 6, but a little bit different. We have a little bit different types of guys now. I'm interested to see what VJ does to control Winston from running, but also, get the coverage sacks, if you know what I mean, right? Make him make decisions that aren't favorable to them and let us capitalize on those. And I think that's the way we win this game. And other than that, on the offensive side, I don't know, man. What do you guys think? Bo Nix, right? Like he's going to go out there and he's going to do Bo Nix things. The one thing, and I'm going to knock on wood on this because I know a bunch of you guys are going to be mad at me, but the one cool thing about Bo Nix is he hasn't turned the ball over. He's not making these stupid plays. The receivers and the throws he's making are just on point. The receivers he's finding are open, right? He's not. I mean, I think one that should have been intercepted and was dropped last week, but for the most part, he's making super, super smart plays. So I like our offense against their defense. The only thing we really need to work out for is Myles Garrett. I mean, you can't stop a guy like that on the defense, and I beg to differ. I beg to say, and I'll ask David what he thinks when he gets on. But I think a big part of this is I think he's better than Max Crosby. I think Myles Garrett is a better athlete than Max Crosby, and I think he has better drive. I think Max Crosby has more energy all the time, right? Myles Garrett's going to pick and choose when he's going to get real big and go to blow up a play. And when he chooses, he does. Max Crosby's go the 100% time, no matter what play. So we have to worry about that. So I think that our coaching staff is doing a pretty good job of watching this and seeing what we could do. But we need to establish the run to go through the pass. And I feel like we're a broken record, right? We're week 12 now, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever week we're in. And we say it every single time, establish the run to set up the pass. And I think that's what's going to be a big part of this one. Who's going to be the leading wide receiver? I'm not gonna lie. Again, I was in Colorado. I was making some bets. I'm not putting money on anybody because I have no clue what they're going to choose on the offensive side for who's going to run the ball. And I kind of like it from a coaching standpoint. You have 3 guys back there. Any one of them get hot, keep giving them the ball. You saw McLaughlin get real hot at the beginning of last week's game before he got injured. And then we just couldn't get the running game going again. So if you got the hot hand, let him go. I'm not putting any money down for anybody to get any over yards because it could be any of the 3 of them getting 15 carries for 100 yards. I just don't know which one it's going to be. And I don't think they do yet. They're just going to try it out. All 3 of them are going to get a few snaps in the first few drives. Whoever does the best gets the rest of the game. And I kind of like that. But we have to make sure that we establish the run. And then Bo Nix, just go out there and do Bo Nix things. Courtland Sutton, I think he's due for a touchdown, a big touchdown this week. I think he's got one in the last couple. No, he had one last week, a big one last week. But I think he's due for another touchdown. Like I said, I like Devon Vele's yards. I think he's going to kill it in the reception game and the yards. I think the more that they work together, Devon and Bo Nix, the more that relationship is getting better. He's just finding him on the field, and you're just going to see it grow and grow over time. And if you listen to Bo Nix, they asked Courtland Sutton about how his relationship is with Bo Nix, and he actually brought up Aaron Rodgers and Parker, whatever his name is. And he was like, over the years, at the beginning they were okay. They were pretty good, right? They were finding each other. And then over the years, they just knew where each other were. It's kind of like that Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes thing, right? Like the first couple of years, they're both pretty good athletes. And then next thing you know, they could like blink at each other and they know where the other guy's going with the ball or where they're going with the route. So I think that's what you're going to see with this consistency that we finally are getting Broncos country. We've been asking for it for so long. That's how we're doing it. All right. Clayton says, time for the ground and pound. Let's get heading into the playoffs. It's huge for us. Man, that P word, it's more and more likely that it's going to happen, especially with everything that happened last week. There was a couple things that didn't go our way. Really wanted Los Angeles to lose, and Atlanta really screwed that one for us. Let's see. Houston, what was the other big team we needed to win? Let me just double check real quick. Buffalo won, so that doesn't do well for us. I thought there was one other. Oh, Green Bay beat Miami, so that helps us. And then Indy needed to lose to New England, and New England had one job. New England. They couldn't do it. All right, so I don't have to do this alone, by the way, anymore. So I'm going to, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the one, the only, the puffball, David. Oh, I'm supposed to add you.
I know. It was in that little pause, that tiny little pause.
Okay.
I was just unsure,
cool.
and there we go. Jared, how we doing tonight? As everybody can see, you probably can't see me all that well. I decided to go lazy on the lighting tonight, so you will see me in full glory for Bourbon, Broncos, and no BS on Tuesday night. What's up, Clayton? Thank you so much for joining. But tonight, I believe I will be just going as is. And Jared, how we feeling tonight? How's the crowd feeling?
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, I've kind of just been talking their ear off a little bit, and I think they're done hearing from me. But I have a couple questions for you, David, because as I'm talking, I'm like, these are good questions for David. Who's the better pass rusher, Myles Garrett or Max Crosby?
Okay, and you and I talked a little bit about this in the pregame show, Jared.
We did,
but I think it's so hard to say who's different, just because they play the game so differently. And I don't want to say that that Myles Garrett doesn't play with a high motor any more than I don't want to say that Max Crosby doesn't have pass rush moves in his arsenal, because both of those things, they both did. But it really does feel like Max Crosby is more of the, like, you hear of a high motor guy, right? Max Crosby has the highest motor. Like, he is always giving his goddamn best every single play of the game, play in and play out. And when you're as physically talented as he is, your goddamn best is pretty goddamn good. Myles Garrett is more of a, like, he's more of that traditional pass rusher, I think, where you can do a little bit of everything. He can do speed moves, he can do power moves, he can transition speed to power. I think it feels like he's more of a technician than just an ultimate high motor guy who just keeps going no matter what. So it's going to be different challenges for sure, but it's really, really hard for me to say which one of those guys is better than the other one.
Yeah, and so kind of what I was leading into that is when you game plan against these guys, they're two different rushers. They're both successful in what they do. One, like you said, high motor, all go all the time, doesn't take a play off. And the other one, like you said, tactician. He may take a play off because he's getting ready, he's setting you up, right? It's kind of that like what's that old commercial, like, oh, almost got it, right? He's gonna try to go inside a little bit one play, knowing that's probably gonna be a run, and then the next, when he needs to get in the backfield, he's gonna go get it. So if you brought that up, I got to bring up that Kevin purposely did not wear his puffball hat tonight. And for the record, drinking with Jason Kelce. So Jason Kelce is not going to see Team Puffball. Just letting you know. I just want to make sure you
did not. No, that's accurate. It's reasonable to point that out. As far as the Jason Kelce part of it goes, I don't know that Kev Dan wore his visor tonight, so I can't say that he's also wearing. He didn't see Team Visor either. I will also say, just for the record, that Team Visor, even if you don't have the Kelce factor, Jared, it's just never had that presence, if you will, that Team Puffball had. So I'm feeling pretty secure about it, despite Kev Dan's choices. I will also say that we've, of course, had Kev Dan on Team Puffball. He's the only member of Team Puffball to be booted from Team Puffball. So that's really all the discussion I have there.
I will say this. There's probably more puffballs tonight in the stadium than there are visors. But again, we've talked about this. It's December in Colorado. Like I would be surprised. Like give me an August game, which never happened. Like, and I bet you see more visors. I'm just saying. Like we can both coexist in this world, David. We don't have to fight. We don't have to fight. But I do want to point out that the alternative that you just offered was that Team Visor can own the preseason, which to me feels right on, buddy. The visor is definitely that like, oh, I'm tuning up my hat choices. I'm trying to figure out what works going into the season, that kind of thing. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, when football starts, and as all of the true football knowers out there know, the season doesn't start until Thanksgiving. This is the headgear. I feel like really the season starts as soon as the Super Bowl is over. That's where the nuts and bolts are happening, right? Like
but when the Super Bowl ends, Jared, what season is that?
Super important. When people don't do well or they do well, what are they looking at? Oh man, look at that draft class. Look at what they did in the offseason, right? It's all about the offseason.
Okay. We have gotten things way off track.
We should probably talk about this game tonight.
Yeah, let's keep talking about the game. Man, this is something, Clayton. I love this. And I love the energy that this brings. About that, though, it's not that I don't think that our running backs and tight ends can play well and make contributions. I'm just thinking that probably you're getting what you're getting out of them at this point. We're 13 weeks into the season. I think maybe with the exception of Audric Estime, who is coming in as a rookie for the first time, what you're seeing out of these guys is what you're going to get, right? Go on, Jared.
I will not have running back slander on this show. You guys hate on the running backs, think they're not doing well, and you're trying to blame the running backs. They're alternating because they're getting up to 670 to 80 yards per game, and we're doing well in those games. Like it's not like they're making us lose games because we can't establish a run. Like I don't know what more you really want from a guy, from the guys up front, and really our offensive line is doing very well in the pass protect. So why not let Bo Nix throw the ball and do the thing? And we're getting 11, 12-yard, 15-yard chunks at a time sometimes. And then we're throwing the ball and we're scoring. And then we don't need to run the ball because we don't need the ball anymore. And we're in a good position. Do we want Bo Nix to throw for 300 yards and get a 150-yard rusher? Like maybe, yeah, that'd be great. But that's not how our team is set up. And I think, these 5-yard, 6-yard plays and 5-yard, 6-yard runs are exactly what we need. You're not going to get – I don't know if we ever get another 100-yard game out of any of our running backs. You might get one with 30 and one with 50 or one with 30, one with 80, but I don't think we have a 100-yard running back because the way that the team is established. I'm not going to say that none of these running backs are negative in my book or not stepping up. They're doing their role. They're playing their role, and they're doing what they need to do to get out there and finish the game. And I think if you give that ball to them towards the end, we're feeling good going into these games, and I think they make the thing happen if they need to.
Okay. Well, you predicted Javonte Williams breakout game number 1, Jared.
I did.
Are you thinking similar tonight? How are you feeling?
I don't like it. Only because just the similarities between the Raiders defense and this defense is too much. And what we saw with the Raiders defense is the McLaughlin running was better, right? Against a power defense, these big guys up front, not so much speed. McLaughlin had the speed on the outside, got a couple back breaks. I think that obviously Javonte is going to have maybe 5 to 8 carries if McLaughlin's running well. And who knows, maybe they break it out over the middle. But again, remember, that's where Myles Garrett's sitting some of the times. So are we going to be able to run inside the tackles or are we trying to run outside? Because if we're trying to run outside, give me McLaughlin if you need to. But I said it earlier today, I'm not putting money on any running backs over on this game because we have no clue. And I don't think Sean Payton does either. I don't think Sean knows. Right now, if you were to ask Sean, okay, who's going to be our number 1 running back? He goes, let's give them all a look.
Yeah.
A couple runs. Whoever has the most runs, they get the most balls. Like I think that's kind of playing it. And
yeah.
I'm okay with it. Fan.
Yeah. Let me switch gears to the other side of the ball and talk about the defense, because with Riley Moss out tonight, obviously, Jared, I think, again, it's something we talked about in the pregame podcast. They're going to have Levi Wallace and Damari Mathis step up. Another interesting name has entered the chat tonight, however, with Chris Abrams-Drain, 5th-round rookie, who played really well in preseason. getting his first activation of the season tonight. Do you think we see him get any snaps on defense?
I think he is going to fill in for Key on special teams. And if he gets snaps on defense, it's maybe in some sort of dime look if we need it, or if something happens to Key or one of the other guys in the backfield. I think that's the only way he really gets in. We might go into some sort of dime look if we're, they're facing like a 3rd and 15 or something like that, 3rd and 10, and we know it's a pass and we want to press him with coverage. You might see it, but also who knows with VJ, like he might throw him in to rush the passer like randomly. And that'd be cool. Get a sack for him, right? Give him a sack in his first activated game. That'd be awesome.
That would be fun. And I really liked this kid in preseason, Jared. He was another part of the piece of the puzzle that made me kind of see what Sean Payton was seeing as far as seeing this year's draft class as like maybe one of the foundational draft classes of the team moving forward. So yeah, I would be interested to see if he actually gets any run tonight. Maybe you're right, maybe not. But with his size at 5'11", I really like his potential to be another rotational piece at outside corner for us. Yeah. Have we talked about?
You might see it if Key or if whoever's playing out there at the time is just not doing well. You might like throw him in there, see what he can do.
Yeah, he might be that halftime adjustment if Wallace is not playing well. If he was showing some
good stuff, I mean Levi Wallace, I have faith in Levi Wallace. I do like him. But yeah, if he for some reason something's happening, they just don't like what they see, throw him in there, see what happens, see if we can get a little bit of a momentum shift. And again, you're playing, and these young guys that we have in there are playing with some of the best. And again, we have orange goggles, right? We all know we have goggles. Like our wide receivers, Devon Bailey, we're like, you're learning from Cortland Sutton, bro, right? And then on the other side, you're talking about the corners, like you're learning from Pat Surtain. Like these are the guys that you're playing with and playing against, and these learning under these guys is super crucial. And I think it's going to obviously end up paying off in the long run. And we no longer have to play the trade deadline game, and we can actually go out there and establish a team that we drafted and we built.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Isn't that like, man, it's going to be so different to be able to like go into free agency and think about trades as like, these are luxury players that we're going after now because we built the foundation of our team through the draft. That would be, now another player that they drafted early on defense, the Broncos did in the last couple of years, who will not be playing tonight. Drew Sanders, inside linebacker, not making his debut tonight, inactive. And have we talked about the Browns injuries at all, Jared?
No, but I have them up here. So we have Juan Thornhill. We talked about that in the pregame podcast, David. That's a huge blow to them. I mean, in an already not so great secondary, their starting safety being out is hard for them. It's a hard hitting. But remember, they have that defense that can get to the quarterback. So if you see any deep shots, expect them to be what we call 80 shots, which is like a 2-step drop and let it out, because I don't think he's going to have as much time as he normally does back there. Dante Foreman, the running back, wide receiver Cedric Tillman out. Their cornerback, Anusium?
Couldn't tell you. I don't think he's a starter.
Yep. Tackle, Jedrick Wills Jr. out. So that's a huge piece. Left tackle, their starting left tackle, Pro Bowl left tackle, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're right.
And we have a guy, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but we have a guy who's almost in the lead behind only Myles Garrett for sacks.
And forget the league leaderboard there just for a minute. I feel like it's been like since 2016 since the Broncos had a player with 10 sacks in a season or more. And yet again, it's a guy we drafted, right? So, man, Nick Bonito against that backup left tackle. We have seen him play so well against backup left tackles this season. And specifically against the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago, there were times when he was the best player on the field in that game. We talked about Jameis Winston's propensity to make mistakes with the football in his hand as well, because he's trying to hunt up big plays, right? If you get Nick Bonito in the backfield on some of these plays, you are going to have the chance to get some turnovers in this game.
Yeah, well, here's what I'm worried about, though, is I'm playing devil's advocate, David. I'm sorry. But I'm worried because that Ravens game scared the crap out of me. And I don't want, when we play against a quarterback that can run and that we know that can run, are we going to try to play it safe? Because there was a couple times Bonito would like get to his like ankles and like almost stop himself because he knew he was in the wrong position and he could have taken off. And if he would have gone full, would he have escaped it? Probably, maybe not. I don't know. but are we going to try to contain him to the pocket, or are we going to actually be able to let guys like Nick Bonino go? And we haven't talked about this. Zach Allen being back.
Yeah.
Right. Opens up the middle and gives guys like him and Franklin Myers on the inside the chance to be able to get in on the inside. If we can break up the inside, contain the outside, and he has nowhere to go, then I think that's going to be our best bet. And with Zach Allen back, I mean, he led the league in pressures, I think we were talking about. So I think that's huge. So, yeah.
And I think you're right. I think Angelo has a good point here because, the Browns O-line has not been super effective. And as far as Jameis rushing, Jared, I don't know that the real there's as much of a rushing threat there this year. Jameis, I guess he's played 3 games now. I don't know if it's 3 or 4.
3. This will be his 4th game.
But he only has 46 rushing yards so far. So it's not as if they're really trying to get him rolling. However, we have seen the Broncos get gashed on the ground just by being back in coverage and not having a lot of guys in those areas between the defensive line and the secondary sometimes. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on for sure. I agree that with Zach Allen back, you're going to be able to bring pressure from the inside. With Bonito, you're going to get pressure from the outside. I know that Jameis is a different, Jameis makes this offense functional in a way that Deshaun Watson it was completely inoperative with him earlier this year. But even with Jerry Jeudy playing better, and this, man, I'm sure you've talked about it already, but the Jerry Jeudy thing, it's like one of the truest cases I can think of this worked out better for everybody. This player and the team both needed a fresh start, and everybody's doing better because they are in different places now. But even with that happening and the chemistry going on between them, I think the Broncos defense matches up pretty well tonight.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, I as much as I want us to go out there and destroy the Browns and Jerry Jeudy probably wants to come out and show them that, like, hey, I got a rough time. And you're looking at guys like it's crazy to think, and we could talk about this on the Tuesday show, so I don't want to get into it, but like even Russell, man, like Russell threw for 400 something yards last week. Yesterday. And so like him and Jerry Jeudy, and Russell's a different story. I want him to fail. But Jerry Jeudy, I want him to succeed. And if you look at guys like Tim Patrick playing in Detroit, getting a new start and doing some good things out there and on a great team, just being able to support. And I like seeing that. And I want to see Jerry Jeudy, but not this week. I want to see Jerry Jeudy not succeed this week or tonight. Let's flip the switch real quick, David, because there's a couple comments here, and I forgot to mention, because I did say that the secondary for the Browns is awful. However, yes, they do have Greg Newsome. I think they got him from Carolina.
They drafted him, but don't forget Denzel Ward too, who is definitely a top 10 corner in the league.
So at one point they were top 10, but they're not top 10 this year. And I don't know if it's a different system, if it's something different, like what's going on. Are they playing the man that they need to, or are they just getting gashed? And I don't know what it is really. I haven't watched enough Browns games, I think, to know.
Honestly, man, like it's one of the things that makes me nervous for next year, for this Denver defense specifically, because they have had some player turnover, but not a ton. And like we talked last year, they were playing at a historical level. And it's more than just the Browns. It really is a league-wide problem. It's just a thing that happens is year to year defense it can be really inconsistent. However it happens, like you miss one player that's really kind of the key of your team, or the league just has more film on what you like to do and you don't change enough year to year that they know what you're going to go out there and do. It's one of those things. And so I'm really interested to see how the Broncos defense maintains success next year. But to me, that's as much of why the Browns are struggling this year. And they're not a bad defense this year. They're more like top 10 to 12 instead of like number 1 and the best defense we've seen in 5 years. That kind of thing. Spotty, we did already talk about this a little bit earlier, and we'll welcome you to the show tomorrow night as well. Drew Sanders is inactive tonight. Will not be playing. Looks like they decided to elevate Chris Abrams-Drain in his position. And Andrew, good question here. Programming note: I don't believe there is a Manning cast tonight. They only do that for specific Monday Night Football games. I do not believe that they're having one this year for this game, even though I'm sure Peyton lobbied for it, since, as we all know, he is one of the favorite ex-Broncos out there. All right, Jared, we're getting some score predictions here. It is that time of the evening, is it not?
We should. Yeah, game kicks off here in about just over 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys have ESPN, check it out. I got to go figure out how I'm going to watch it. I don't know if my TV is going to be able to do it. I don't know if I'm going to watch it on my phone. Like, I'm not sure how I'm watching this game yet, but I'm going to have to go figure that out. But yeah, let's talk about score predictions, David. In the pregame podcast, we talked about it, and I thought this was going to be more of a slugfest. I think that it's going to take us time to get rolling. And I think it's going to take them. It's really not going to be big on them. And I think they score first, unfortunately. But I do think that we win this game. And I think towards the fourth quarter, we're going to get a little bit more comfortable. We'll be like, okay, we have this game. I think we win this game. I don't 100% remember. We had a lot of bourbon that night, David.
We did.
We had a lot of bourbon.
A lot of bourbon that night. We did that pregame podcast. I did not feel so good.
Yeah, no, me neither. Yeah. Me neither. I left my sunglasses at your place.
Sure did.
So, I do think this is going to be closer. I think we do still put up 30, but I think that they get theirs and they get I think they get 30 to 20. And I think that is not even close to what I said in the pregame podcast. But again, a lot of bourbon between those two.
I miraculously do remember what I predicted in the pregame podcast, and I'm going to stick with it. But it was very close to what you just said. I said 27-20. For the Broncos. I do think that Spotty has a really good point here. We got to be really careful with the football tonight. That's an opportunistic defense and an aggressive defense still. So winning that turnover battle, I think we can do it with what we talked about with Jameis earlier, but we've got to be really, really careful and make sure, Bo's going to do his best Bo Nix tonight and take care of the football. I think you're going to see a ton of screens tonight. I don't think you are far off, Jared, in thinking that the Browns might score first. But yeah, I do think you'll see the Broncos settle in. I think you'll see them see what's working against the Browns and adjust in real time. And I do think they get the win tonight. We're not alone. It seems everybody in the chat is also with us. Anthony says 28-13. We've got Andrew 31-24. We have got Angelo basically right with you, Jared. 31-20. Spotty says 24-13. He thinks the defense
Spotty,
is out playing nasty tonight. I love this.
Yeah, Spotty's thinking this is going to be a little bit of a slugfest. 24 points. That's I like it. But that's interesting. I mean, we've put up 30 points in the last 4 or 5 games, except for the Ravens game. Let me see if I can pull it up. Hold on.
Go ahead. And I mean, last game it was 29. So 28 points or more, I feel like is probably closer to what you're thinking. The Broncos.
Yeah. Let's see. This is nope. I don't want the NFL schedule. What are you doing? Come on, man. Figure it out. Guys, it's so cool to have optimism about this Broncos team and to talk about it as an effective offense, right? And Brad, thank you so much. Welcome to the show. We respectfully disagree with you, and we will see what Patrick Surtain, the best cornerback in the league, has to say about that. It's gonna be but it's so interesting to talk about this Broncos team as one on the way up, right, on their way to the playoffs with a 2-game lead for the 7th seed in the playoffs as of December 2nd, and with their destiny in front of them, with a game against the Indianapolis Colts, right after I think it's after the bye week, to really kind of lock yourself in and make sure that there's really no competition for that spot anymore. What a cool place to be in Broncos country. It's been a long time. Yeah, it's crazy too to think that we have a bye week next week, so kind of take it off, relax a little bit, going into Indianapolis, coming to Denver, so we get to stick around for a little bit. And then our last 3 games of the season, the Chargers, which is kind of a rematch game, and they're playing really well. I mean, they won last week.
I think we win that game. We'll talk about it when we get there.
I think we will. And then you got Cincinnati, who's struggling and is kind of already out of playoff contention after their just disappointing loss last week, yesterday. And then we got Kansas City at the end of the week, at the end of the season, and we don't even know if they're going to be playing their starters. They might have that first round locked up. So it's a good time in Broncos country. We have a lot of good things. We win this game. I'm calling it. I mean, there's always chances to go to the playoffs. We win this game, we're going to the playoffs.
There it is.
Right? That's it. And we're there. And I think in the next 4 games that we sneak out at least 1 or 2 of them, we win 10 games and we're in the playoffs at that point because of the way the AFC is shaping up. So I think that's what's going to do it for us. And I love it. I'm super excited. It's the first time in 8 years that we're talking about this at this point in the season. 38-13, Justin, appreciate you.
Now, before we sign off, Jared, I want to go on a little bit of a mini rant about something you just said. I'm a little triggered right now. it's something. It's a concept I've heard kicked around, not just on the Orange Weekly chat, but in Broncos circles in general. Is the idea that the Chiefs might be resting their starters in Week 18 because they've got the number 1 seed all sewn up. Let me tell you guys something right now, and I want to put this on record. I do not care if the Kansas City Chiefs are resting their starters in Week 18. The Broncos are going to win that game. The Chiefs are not the same offense they used to be. The Broncos' defense is nothing to mess around with. They should have beaten the Chiefs at home for the Chiefs earlier this year, and there is no reason for the Broncos not to go into that game extremely confident with the way they've played them 2 years in a row now, whether their starters are playing or not. Bring on Pat Mahomes, I say.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I think we win that game either way as well. And I mean, if we keep playing the way we have the last 3 games, I don't think there's anybody that's left on the schedule that we can't beat.
Correct.
We just got to, again, limited turnovers, keep playing our game, take the clock, and do what we need to do. Let's see, Gary over on YouTube. If you guys aren't subscribed to the YouTube, make sure you check it out and hit that subscribe button. 31-13, he thinks it's going to be a blowout. 24-20, Jerry thinks it's going to be real close. Really appreciate that. Yeah, the blowout win would be nice. Something like last night's game where it's just like over before it starts. That'd be great.
Fabulous.
But yeah, we'll see what happens.
And one last thing, just my final closing note. This is not a mini rant. Okay. I'm really interested to see what the Sean Payton coaching advantage is, if any, here. We saw him go against 3 NFC South teams that he has coached against before, and specifically coaches that he's coached against before in that division this year, and absolutely manhandle them. I am interested to see if that kind of insight helps to a similar performance versus Jerry Jeudy and Jameis Winston tonight.
Yeah, you know what? The other thing we didn't talk about, David, is something we talked about on the pregame podcast, and I wanted to bring it up is the inefficiency of Cleveland's defense against the screen.
Yeah,
and how well we run our screens in the last couple of games, right? We struggled early on, a lot of illegal man downfields in our screen games, but we've kind of established it. We've got it better, and it looks like they're really refining it to be something special. Don't be surprised if you see a couple big screens, whether it be wide receiver, tight end, or running back screens, to be able to get big chunk yards. And we just need to drive the field, minimal turnovers. I'm excited. So I got to tell a quick story, and this may be my last thought, but we only have 5 minutes till kickoff. My daughter, we obviously we're in Denver for the Thanksgiving time. We went to the store, and my daughter was like, I want new Broncos shirt. She's 4 years old. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, pick out. I'm not going to say no, right? Who's going to say no to that, right?
Well, not you.
So like, okay,
the kind of dad that you are. Yeah.
And they have a bunch of Broncos, like kids Broncos shirts. And she walks up, she goes, I want to be on number 10's team. And she picked up the shirt, and she's wearing it now. She's been wearing it all day. She wore it to school, did her little show and tell with her little Bo Nix shirt. And she was like, Bo Nix is a quarterback. And I'm loving it. And I think that's special. And Bo Nix is going to have himself a game. 250 yards for Bo Nix. Let's get a couple touchdowns. Let's get one to Cortland Sutton. Let's just have a day, man. Let's have fun out there. It's Monday night. White helmets. Yeah, I can't believe you haven't mentioned that yet.
I'm saying, boy, this will be my final. Go ahead. Let me finish because that'll be my final.
Final thought. I'm setting it. I'm setting it up to you.
Okay. Well, let me take that and take a big slice out of it and just munch it on up, because I'll tell you what, Broncos country, I don't hate the white helmets, and I don't hate the blue jerseys. I kind of like the blue jerseys on TV. I wish that the Broncos players would have gone either with different color pants or at least different color socks, because we're going blue on blue on blue on blue today, and it's a lot. And I'll tell you what, the mock-ups online, just comparing it to what I've already seen in the pregame, it doesn't look as bad, but it's still for me the weakest uniform combination that they've run out this year, and it's a bummer. So that's all right. We're only seeing it tonight, and that's it. So
when do we wear the throwbacks again? Is it Kansas City?
Yes, it is. And that's another reason you could chalk up a win for that game. I tell you what, bring on Patrick Mahomes, Jared.
All right, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. We're about 8 minutes from kickoff, 4 minutes from kickoff. Super excited for you guys to join us. Thank you guys so much for jumping on and chatting. We really appreciate you guys' input. This is why we do it. We do it to talk to you guys. Make sure you join us tomorrow night, Bourbon Broncos, no BS, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And we will be here again. We'll do the pregame podcast. You'll hear a postgame podcast from David. We might actually turn that Tuesday night show into a post-game podcast. So make sure you're downloading, subscribing to all your post-game, all your podcasts, Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS on any of your podcast and listening devices. And then we'll be back here at halftime. Let's talk about what we saw in the first half and what we want to see different in the second half. And hopefully we're in a happy mood, not a, we need to do everything different mood and going forward. So yeah, this is great. Broncos country. Monday Night Football. It's here against the Cleveland Browns in Denver. Be loud, guys, in the stadium. And I appreciate you guys joining us. And I don't think we have anything else to say. So I really appreciate you guys, except for a very strong
Go Broncos.
Broncos.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for joining.
Do what I like, yeah, do what I like, yeah, do what I like. Sipping goose, sip is right, and I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, cause I know I'm the show, in the zone, here I go.